Okay, hello, welcome to Blueprint. My name is Nikzad, and today we're going to discuss about TouchDesigner. And I'll do my best to help you guys to first set up your software, and then I'm going to introduce you to some really cool feature about TouchDesigner, and then we're going to make something together. Okay, so far so good. So let's start with downloading the software and set up the program. And okay, you can just go to the derivative website. And when you, the first thing first, please just make the profile for yourself. I'm not gonna explain how you make your profile. It's super easy. And then after that, you can just click on Get It Now. And then you have these two different settings. If you're using Windows, and then you can just easily just download the last build. And if you're using Mac, yeah, super easy. And before start downloading, please just take a look for system requirements. And yeah, TouchDesigner is not that heavy environment to work, but still you need to just take a look at this requirement and yeah, just judge yourself. And then also you can just take a look at this license. You can just start with the non-commercial, and yeah, of course there is some limitation like the resolution limitation. If you're a student, you can start with the educational, and then you can get rid of this limitation. And after a while, when you feel okay, I want to just build up my career with TouchDesigner, you can just go to commercial and then, of course, make some money with it. And that's all. So we can now just start with the software. I'm not going to download it because I already did. So let's go to TouchDesigner. Cool. So the first time when you open TouchDesigner, you can see this default. Yeah, that's the default. And I'm going to explain the whole layout menu and all those good things. So yes, so when you open TouchDesigner, you can see the first menu bar from here, and of course you can that's a standard menu bar, new, open, save as, and you can access to the preferences by just clicking on this preference. We're going to discuss all of these things. And then the dialog, you can set up your key, and you can access to the console. And I'm going to discuss all of these things. The most important things, these three things: the wiki, forum, and tutorials. So that's the best way of learning TouchDesigner, from wiki. And if you have any sort of question, you can just go to the forum and just type down your question, and I'm pretty sure that someone gonna answer your question soon. And tutorials, you can just access to a big source of tutorials, and then that's a good things to learn. And then you have this toggle button is a cooking. So if you toggle it off, and just to stop the whole process of the TouchDesigner, and if you toggle it on, then starts the software again. And okay, and then the FPS, that's frame per second. So it's all because it's a real-time software, so it always shows the frame per second. So then you know what you're doing. And then you have this toggle button for real time. It should always off, but sometimes you can just it should always on, and then sometimes you can just toggle it off. And then if you want to export something, I'm gonna also explain this one. And then you have this pane layout, pane, P-A-N-E. So it's more like a standard 3D software. You can just split your screen like this, and then you can close it like this, and also you can just split it like this, and then like this, and like this, if you want to work on a different part of your patch or network. And then of course you can always close it like this. And then you have this perform mode. So I'm gonna explain it. We don't want to uh, discuss it now. So when you're done with your patching, or if you want to check something on the perform mode, you can just click on this one and go to the perform mode. And then when you go to the perform mode, please don't click on this one, because it's gonna just close the whole software. So just press escape on your keyboard and you will back to the software again. And the other one is this toggle icon. So it's just for this palette. So if you close the palette, you can just click on this icon and bring it back. And then you have this palette. So the palette is a collection of pre-made or plugin. No, you cannot consider it as a plugin. Yeah, you can consider it as a plugin or pre-made patch, and you can just or tool and UI and all sort of good source to learn or use. We're going to discuss it later again. And then in here you have the address bar, so you can always have access to the address bar from here. So at the moment if you back, now it's home. So if you go to the project one, then you can see the address of your project here. And okay, and some useful shortcut. And if you want to go a level up, you can just press U. And if you want to go inside of the components, you can just press I to go inside. And it's quite useful, especially when you start programming and having some sort of big network is super handy. And then you have, you can just easily just close this palette and add more space to work. Finally, that's your network editor. So TouchDesigner is a node-based programming language or environment, meaning that instead of just using text editor and adding the operation or parameters by text, so you can easily just using these nodes and connect it together, and each of these nodes has a different purpose. And so I'm gonna explain all the different family of these nodes. But before that, also I'm gonna explain this part, because I kind of forget to discuss it. That's your timeline. It's a bit different from the After Effects or Premiere, so it has a kind of different look. So in here you have your time code and bits, so you can always change from time code to bits and see the bits instead of time code. You have this pause and play, and also this timeline it's more like a loop, so it always goes to the end and then back. You can just change this timeline by, that's your start frame and that's your end frame. You can just easily type the number. Usually I don't change it, but you can do it. And you have also R start, R end, which is for this one, it's a range. So you can just easily change it if you want to. And yeah, the timeline is a quite big subject, so we can discuss it later, but usually you can just use it if you want to. Okay, now we can just delete this default and start fresh. So to access all the operation families, you can just double click on this network editor like this, or you can just press tab on your keyboard, and then you can access to this OP create dialog. In here you have 6 plus this custom, you have 6 different families. And let's start from the comp. Comp stands for components. And in this family you have 4 different type of components. The first group is for 3D object, and the second one panels, and third others, and then at the last one dynamics. So the components are more like folder, not really specifically like folder, but components are more like the container that contains more ops or nodes. We're going to discuss it later. And then the next one is top. Top stands for texture operator. So all the texturing, all the 2D image and all the image manipulation, the whole thing is it's basically just works based on your GPU. You can find it here. And the third one is chops. Chops stand for channel operators, and you can just access to all data manipulation or data management or all the numbers when you're working with numbers, when you're working with channels, when you're working with any sort of input device like MIDI information, MIDI data. And the other one is subs, stand for surface operator. And this family or this group is when you're working on any sort of 3D objects. So it's more just manipulating primitives, and when you want to generate object, you can just start from, making some sort of sphere or box, and then you can also editing some 3D object is not the best way for instance, design 3D object, but yeah, it's super powerful, and we're gonna discuss it later. And then the next one is mat, stand for material. So material is more like any sort of 3D software. So you have all the materials here, different type of material. You have the constant material, you have PBR, sorry, and you have your phone, and or GLSL if you want to make your own. And then you have DATS. So DATS is more like when you're working with Python, or more like a text-based programming. So you can always get access to all sort of cool nodes when you want to working with Python. And at the end, you have this custom when you want to work, adding, basically making your nodes or your operator. You can add it here. I'm not going to discuss it this one because it's more like a pro level. So yeah, just leave it. And that was the all the families. Okay, and now we can start with something. So let's just start, because today we're going to discuss more about TOPS, the texture operator. Let's discuss maybe something like a movie file in. Yeah. So now we have these nodes, and each of these nodes has a window parameters. So in this way, you can just add the node to your network, and from this window, we can just easily change the parameters. But at the same time, you have these icons, and they call it flag. These are the universal flag. And you have this one. So let's start just with this one. No, this one. Yeah, these are universal flags. So the first one is the preview. So sometimes you don't want to just look at the content inside of it. You can just toggle it off and on. The second one is the clone immune. So that's the thing we can usually use when you replicate some nodes. We can discuss it later. This one is important. That's a bypass. So bypass is mean just like you have this specific node in your network, and you don't want to use it, but at the same time you don't want to delete it. You just want to bypass it. So when you toggle this bypass on, so you just stop or pause all this operation inside of these specific nodes and just bypass the data flow. And this one is lock. So we can just lock it, and when you lock it, you just keeps the last frame or the last data. And when you unlock it, and just ask you, are you sure you want to unlock it? And you can just easily say yes, and then you can just again pass data to it. And in here you have this cross button. So when you let me also bring the other one, like noise from here, and also I can bring sphere from this one. Sphere, if I can spell it today. So this one is a cross, this cross icon. When you click this one, then you can access to all the content inside of this specific node. So for instance, this one is top, so then you can, for instance, click right and then access to all this useful information. For instance, you can just select display pixel value, and then if you just hover your uh, mouse cursor in here, you can just look at all the useful information such as red, green, blue, alpha, value of your image. For this one, when you click or active the viewer, then you can interact with your 3D object inside of it. And same with this one. When you click on this one, then you can zoom in, zoom out, and access to all this sampling information. And in subs also you can access, yeah, we're going to discuss it later because then it's more complicated for now. Okay, that was it. So, and also this other icon here, the display. So when you toggle it on, then you can also have this specific content here as a reference. And if you have, for instance, a couple of them, then you can just split your screen to two, and then you can just easily preview these contents as your reference. Okay, now, so yeah, let's start with the first one. I'm gonna start with the movie file in, because I can consider that most people wants to have or upload some movies or image or some sort of pre-render stuff inside of TouchDesigner. And the best way to just upload your movie or image, or still image in TouchDesigner, is just use the movie file in here. Also, there is a small search dialog, so you can just easily just type movie file in, and it's gonna highlight the movie file in for you, and then you can already did. And then, okay, that's your movie file in. So if you look at this window parameters, then you can see different pages. The first one is play, and then image, trim, tune, and common. So we're gonna start with the play. So the first one, you can just easily just choose your destination. So you can also type it down if you want to, or you can just click on this cross button and then upload it from your specific folder. For instance, in this default, we have this nature folder, and most of them are super nice. So we're gonna just start with this first one, movie number 1. And by default, TouchDesigner is one of the, in my opinion, is one of the most powerful media player. And then you can easily just upload any sort of media inside of TouchDesigner. It does support different codec, and so you can just also go to the wiki page, TD wiki page, and just read about all the codec and different type of moves that you can just easily upload to TouchDesigner. And the other thing, let's also discuss about these things. So that's the name of the type of this specific nodes here, and the other one is just a name, so you can easily just rename it if you want to something. And also you can rename it from here. The other one is just as the help. Just if you click on this help, just bring it to the wiki page, and then you can just access to all of the super useful information. And the second one is the Python help. So if you click on the Python help, it's just bring you to the specific movie top class page for the Pythons, if you know how to write Python. And the other one is, yeah, these things are not really important for a moment, and we're going to discuss it later. So now you just upload a file in here. So let's uh, discuss the play mode. Okay, now if you look at this here, you have access to different methods of playing your movie. You can just lock it to timeline. And when you lock it to the timeline, it's more like you can just scrub the frame to timeline. And also you can just go through index and just type down the frame. For instance, it goes to, I don't know, frame 5. And also you can just change instead of the frame, you can just change it to seconds or fraction. So yeah. And the other thing is this cue point. So you can just easily just press on the cue pulse and just bring it to the first frame. Or if you just change the cue point, you can just change it to percentage, or you can just change it to frames. For instance, just put it on the frame 10, and every time when you press on pulse, you just play it from this specific frame. Just make it to fraction. And then you have this loop crossfade, and with the loop crossfade you can say that when this specific movie finish, instead of just hard coded them back to the first frame, you can just have the smooth transition by just changing this loop crossfade. And again, you can access it, you can just change it from fraction to seconds or frames. And then also you have this audio loop, so you can say that's audio loop by fade or not without fade. And then if you go to the next page, and these are the pages, so next page is image. So you can interpolate between frames. For instance, let's back to the play. And then also you have this speed, so you can just easily change the speed like this. And if you type negative number, like -1, just back forward. So it's not the best codec for this specific, so just back to the 1. But for instance, if we just slow it down to something like this, now if you take a look at it, then you can see just a jump between each frame. Then one thing you can just kind of fix this issue when you slow it down, then you can just toggle on this interpolate frames, and then just it's going to generate an interpolate frames. So basically just generate one frame between each frame. And then if your input is sRGB, and if you're sure that your input is sRGB, and then you can just toggle on sRGB, and then you can trim your source. So again, in percentage, frame, or seconds. For instance, you can just trim it like this. And then the other thing you can do at the moment is just a loop. So if you just want to play it once, you can just in here extend right. Instead of cycle, you can just click on the hold and just play it once and then hold it. And in the tune page, so the first one is preload frames, so you can just type down the amount of frame that you want to preload before the files start running. And yeah, the rest are a bit quite pro, so we're gonna discuss it later when you want to just start playing with the video. And then let's get rid of the trim and also the interpolate, and then let's bring it to 1 like a normal speed. So yeah, that's the movie file in. So as I mentioned, you can always just click on this question mark, and then you can access to all the information here. Okay, the next one I'm going to discuss about the super useful tops level. So level is more, yeah, sorry, before going, we're going too fast. Okay, so each of these node has output, and some of them has input and output. The way you connect these nodes together is just click on this output and just drag it here, and when you close it here, then you fold this snap and just release it, and that's a way you connect these nodes together. And when you want to disconnect it, you can just easily just click right and then disconnect, or you can just click on this one and then disconnect. Okay, so the level you can just consider it as more like you can correct any sort of, it's more like a color correction, and it's more than color correction, but let's just start discussing all of these things. So the first one is the first window is pre, so you can just invert it if you want. You can change the black level, you can change the brightness, you can change the gamma and the contrast. In the second window, range, you can rearrange it, rearrange the pixel data. In the third one, RGBA, you can rearrange your red, blue, and green channels. Yeah, for instance, you can just rearrange the red by adding more red, or sorry, decreasing the amount of red in this channel, or adding more red. And in the post, you can access to the opacity and gamma and brightness, and then that's super useful. You can just easily change the opacity of this specific file. And in the comment page, so in the comment page, you can access the output resolution. So you can easily just change the output resolution. You can just change it to custom resolution and just type down your resolution, or you can just click on this button and access to these defaults. And the output aspect, so we can just change it to resolution and custom aspect, and then change this aspect setting again as a default. And yeah, the rest we're going to discuss later. So that's the level. So let's start using this level. For instance, I'm gonna just doing some super simple color correction with this one. So the first thing first, I can start with the first page pre, and just adding a bit contrast, not too much, bit contrast, and maybe less brightness, and maybe we have some sort of good dynamic range, so but still we can just add a bit of black level. And then we can go to RGBA and also adding more red and maybe a bit green. Yeah. So that's level, and then let's bring another example. For instance, you can generate some stuff, and let's start with a simple one, circle, and Also, the other one is noise, my favorite one. So also you can, instead of just uploading your file, you can start generating stuff. Now that's the way you can bring your now that's a way you can import your movie or still image inside of TouchDesigner. Also you can start generating textures or image. So these are just as really simple examples. So for instance, in this circle you can generate circle and then you can easily just changing the radius. And sometimes if you want to change two parameters at the same time, you can just click on the middle mouse and access to this super nice and easy way to just changing both of these parameters at the same time. And then of course these sort of things you can just change it, you can transform it. And the other way we can usually the other way I usually transform stuff is just by using transform. So again you can just connect it, and let's just change this radius. And then by transform you can just that's a bit, I mean that's the best way, but it's a good way just to transform your image. So you can just, that's X and Y, and then you can easily just transform to X and Y. You can rotate it, or you can just scale it down or up. And you can just change the color. It's based on HSV, hue, saturation, and value. And also, yeah, you can just change the border width and border offset. So not that much about circle, just a simple example. And the other one is noise. And noise is super interesting and super useful node inside of TouchDesigner. So if you look at the first page, noise, you can just easily change the type of the noise. You can access to all of these. You can change the seed of the noise, and just change the seed of the noise. And you can change the period, harmonics, and gain and amplitude and offset it. So let's start generating something. So yeah, I'm gonna just change this period to something like, I don't know, 5. No, that's too much. 3. Yeah, cool. And then harmonic is something like 1. Yeah, that's good enough for me. And also in the transform page, you can also access to XYZ. And let's also make a small animation. So for animating this noise, you can have I don't know, 1,000 different ways. You can just change these parameters, and if I just change the noise and bring it back like this, so you can just transform it left and right, up and down, and also in the z-axis. So when you change the z-axis, it's going to change the whole overview of these noise. So we can just type down apps time seconds, and that's a super simple Python expressions, and just animate this one. And also you can just multiply it by 0.2, like a really slow animation here. Okay, now I'm gonna just bring it back to 3. So it's, yeah. And if you go to the comment page, and you can just easily just change the resolution. At the moment is this size, and you can just change the resolution to something, for instance this one, 1024. No, cool. And the other way, you can also just middle click on this preview window and then access to the size, spec, pixels, format, and all the useful information. And also you can just pixel format here at the moment to use an input, and you can just change it from 8-bit RGBA or change it to 60-bit, 32-bit. So I'm going to just change it to 32-bit full RGBA to have more data to play with it. So now we have this noise stop generating some super fancy texture for us. So we can start adding some colors. So the one way you can add colors is just if you go to the first page, noise, there is a monochrome toggle. If you just toggle it off, then it's going to add some colors to this texture, but I'm not going to use it now. The other way is just using a super cool top called lookup, and use this lookup top for adding colors to this or recoloring this noise top. So the best way is just connect your source, this one is your source, to the first input, and then for the second input you need a lookup table. So I usually just use a ramp top as my lookup table. So the ramp top also is super interesting. So inside of this ramp top, you can access to this bar, and so you can start making keys for each color. For instance, let's start with the first one, the black, and then we're gonna make a color like this. So just change the saturation to 1 and then value to 1, and too much, value to 0.5, and then add another key, and this one maybe here. Yeah, you can just easily play with these things. And another one, maybe this one, blue, dark blue, and the white last one, maybe black. So the way is just lookup top works is start recoloring this source texture by just using this ramp, and the left side of this ramp is the bright side, and the right side of this ramp is the dark side. So you're just adding these new keys from the brightest pixels to the darkest pixel of this source, and in this way you're just recoloring this source. So now we have this source recolored based on this ramp table. So the other way to manipulating this source is just, or recoloring this source is just adding HSV adjust. So HSV is basically can consider it same as this hue, saturation, and value, but in here you can just completely change the hue offset and saturation and also the value. So for instance, we can just change the hue offset and completely replace our hue value. And also we can, yeah, it's exactly the same. Okay, hue, saturation, value, hue, saturation, and value. So also you can just easily from here recoloring your source if you want to. So yeah, that was the noise and the way we usually recoloring the source with the lookup, and also the way we can easily use this for adjusting our hue and saturation and also the value colors. Okay, and now we have this small branch of network, and now we have this we can just consider it as a results of this small network. Let's make another branch, and this time we're gonna just testing a feedback loop. So first, just bring the feedback from here. And what we want to achieve is just making a feedback of this source by means that adding this source to itself. So it's just more like if you consider each pixel has a value from 0 to 1, we want to make a feedback loop and adding the same pixels to this source, to the same source. It can be quite complicated, but let's do it. So first we need to bring the feedback, and also we need to bring the level, and then after the level, as we mentioned, we want to add this specific source to itself, so we need a specific node called add, and then connect this one to the second input. And also, since this feedback requires a target top, and this is our target top, we need to drag and drop this add, drag and drop to the target top. And of course it goes to black because it's just adding this source to itself, just adding and adding, and the result is white. So, and that's why we have this level in here. So if you go to the post page and just change the opacity, I don't know, something like 0.7, and then you can see, oh, by the way, if you want to view this specific node, you can just click right and then view. So in this small branch, we just what I did is just adding a feedback loop. So the feedback loop is we can just play with the feedback loop in a different way and add more operator to your feedback loop. For instance, you can just add a transform, and also manipulate this feedback loop by just, for instance, adding, changing the scale parameters to, I don't know, 1.002 or more. And let's change the value a bit. And also you can, yeah, good. So, okay, now that's now when we have this branch, the new branch in here, we can also composite these two branches together. So for this purpose, we have three different ways. So the way I usually use is using the composite top, and composite top is a way that you can compose different layers together. It's a bit similar to Photoshop, but in a different way. So we can just add these two branches together and at the moment the default operation is multiply, meaning that again multiplying the pixels to each other. You can just change the operation to add, or I don't know. I'm gonna just use multiply again. And now this one is the result of these two branches multiply to each other. Okay, not bad. So every time when you feel like, okay, I'm done with one branch or one line of network, so you can add a null at the end, and null is just an empty box and it doesn't do anything. But the good thing is when you add a null, so if this is your last result or last node, so you can always come back to it and add something in between. For instance, for now, we can just add a level again and just play with brightness and black level by just click on this one and insert operator, and just add the operator between these two nodes. And just for instance, just change brightness a bit, and maybe go to the RGB page and just change, no, yeah, just a bit, yeah, we can just play with it, and then I think I'm just making worse, but yeah, that's the purpose of having a null at the end of each branch. And every time when you want to remove one of these nodes, you can just easily click on it and just click delete. Okay, so that was the first section of this introduction to TouchDesigner. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next session.